The views and opinions expressed in this podcast do not necessarily reflect those of the Society of Massage Archives. These interviews and commentaries represent the recollections of both the hosts and the guests, and as such, are subject to the occasional slight inaccuracies. The content here is for informational and educational purposes only. You should conduct your own historical research when determining the veracity of any of the statements made within.
Greetings and welcome to the Hands of History podcast, a production of the Society of Massage Archives, where we delve into the rich tapestry of massage therapy's past, explore its evolution, and share the stories that have shaped this vital practice. Today is Monday, December 23rd, 2024. I am your host, Kirby Clark Ellis, and I'm joined today with Davonna Willis. Davonna is a respected health and wellness practitioner, an acclaimed entrepreneur, and an educator. She holds a master's degree in health education and a bachelor's in athletic training, and has over 20 years of experience. Willis is the owner of Blue Skies Massage and Wellness Center and 419 Education and Training, and is dedicated to maintaining high-quality standards of care. She is widely recognized for her commitment to client relationships and practitioner integrity. Her school, 419 Education and Training, is a nationally accredited CEU provider for massage therapists and athletic trainers. Davonna is passionate about the health and recovery of her clients and the development of her colleagues and students. She actively advocates for the recognition of massage therapy's healing power. She received a Certificate of Excellence from MT Banquets in 2021. Davonna has been a frequent guest on multiple podcasts, a published author, and speaker. Davonna founded the Black Massage Therapist Conference, which held its inaugural event in October of 2023 in Charlotte, North Carolina, and continues annually. Welcome, Davonna.
Thank you. Thank you, Kirby, for having me. I really appreciate you reaching out to me.
Yeah, of course. This is an incredible experience to have you here on the Hands of History podcast. We like to get started with hearing about our guests' background and foundation in massage therapy. So, can you tell us about what initially drew you to massage?
Sure. So, my background, I'm a certified athletic trainer. So, I worked with sports and athletes. And when I was in school in my undergrad, we had a massage therapist come and give our student athletes sports massages while we were doing the rehab. And so I had the opportunity to speak to, one of the therapists who would come and I'm like, well, what are you guys doing differently than what we're doing? And, what's the benefit? And so she described, stretching and breaking up scar tissue and things of that nature. And, that kind of, like checked off a box for me, if you will. And so once I graduated, my school was in Cincinnati, my undergrad at Xavier University was in Cincinnati, Ohio. Once I graduated, I went back home. I'm from the Bronx in New York. I went back home. I looked up massage therapy schools in Manhattan and or in New York City. And so I found the Swedish Institute.
Mm.
And so while I was studying for my national certification, working part-time at a PT clinic, like as their tech or their aide, that's what that would be now. I started massage school. And so that's what tweaked the interest. And Swedish Institute at the time was about 1,800 hours, like New York required about 1,800 hours. And
Wow.
so I received an associate's degree on top of having a bachelor's, which was funny because that's how much education it was and how much, taxing and it was a lot of hours, but looking back on it because I was already, I already went to undergrad, but and a lot of things was like reviews for me, which was great while I was studying for my exam. I look at it now like that was really great for those therapists who've never had any type of anatomy touching the body, dealing with the body, looking at cadavers, like we had everything. And so I appreciated going back now that I know how certain schools are now here in the industry. It was really great.
Awesome. Yeah, I was digging into a little bit of New York's licensure history. It looks like they've had an extensive history in licensing and regulating massage. It looks like they started in 67. Uh,
Hmm.
And the Swedish Institute is very well known. How did you enjoy the training that you received there?
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it for it to like be the introduction to the massage world for me. It was great. I enjoyed learning about the Eastern modalities. Like I had no idea about Eastern medicine, right? And so we were able to learn, you know, Western and Eastern simultaneously. So it was like Swedish 101, Shiatsu 101, Swedish 102, Shiatsu 102. And then midway through, you would be able to pick your elective, whether you were going the Eastern route or the Western route.
Really?
So the Eastern, it was like Tuina and so some other modalities. A lot of at the time they had an acupuncture school. I don't think they have it now. They had an acupuncture school. So some people who really enjoyed the Eastern, they then graduated and started the acupuncture program
Hmm.
at the school. And so, yeah, so I went the Western route, so sports massage, lymphatic drainage, and that was the electives that went with the Western.
Gotcha. Well, that's a
Hmm.
pretty cool setup, I think.
Hmm.
Um, and so athletic training came before massage therapy for you, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. How did you get started in athletic training then?
I in high school, I tore my ACL running track
Hmm.
and I had to rehab I had to go to rehab and physical therapy. And the funny part is I went to a fashion high school. So it's fashion industries in New York. And you pretty much, when you go to fashion, you have an N to FIT, which is the Fashion Institute of Technology. And so we were starting to do our internships, and I took an interest to PT, and I asked my director at the time, can I do my internship in physical therapy? And she was looking at me crazy because she's like, what? And I'm like, well, I think this is something I may be interested in. And so she was like, as long as you find your own internship, because if you think about it, this school has a connection with FIT. So they had all the different associations with a lot of the fashion houses in New York.
Wow.
People had, we had an automatic in. I was on the business side of things, so it was more fashion merchandising. We learned buying and selling, and little did I know how business like is like a full 360 or 180, if you will. Like I'm in business now, but I didn't think about that as being business at the time, you know. So that's how I ended up in physical therapy, started my internship. We had an athletic trainer come into the clinic. I found like the biggest and well-known orthopedic um, hospital at the time. So they had inpatient and outpatient. I did not enjoy inpatient. I only did it for like a day. I don't want to see anybody straight out of surgery. It was a mess. So being young, being, a fast talking New Yorker, young girl, I was like, this is not what I want. And so I asked to be transferred over. So in the outpatient, they had a athletic trainer come in with her dancers. So she was also a dancer for the American Ballet. And so I was like, well, what is this? Who is this? I always loved dance, and it just intrigued me. Had an opportunity to speak with her, talk to my advisor at the time. And he was like, yeah, if you do athletic training, you know, you pretty much start the same way in regards to getting on your science classes. And I'm like, oh my God, I hate science, didn't pay attention. I was in a fashion high school. I was like, what do I need science for? So when he told me that, and so he's like, yeah, so at that time you can figure out if that's the route you want to go to. And then my brother played basketball and he had an athletic trainer that he got me in contact with, and I would speak to him and he became like a mentor and, family figure to me. So that's how it started. And I loved athletes. I've always been goal orientated. So they have that, if they're injured, Davonna, what do I need to do to get better? How often do I need to get in the training room? So that mentality really worked with me.
Gotcha. Well, it sounds like you kind of took to the science elements pretty well, it sounds like.
The anatomy, yes. Physics, no. Chemistry, I got by. But yeah, because it's a lot of science.
All right. And Davonna, when did you start your entry level training at the Swedish Institute?
Oof. I'm gonna say 2002.
Okay.
Mhm.
All
Yeah.
right. Excellent. Did you end up with a New York license after you finished? Did you get licensed in?
Yes. Yes, I definitely did. So I passed like with like a 90 something. So I passed on the first go round. So I was kind of a snob that way because New York, that's just the way New Yorkers are. We're kind of nothing's better than New York. I don't know if you ever watch episode of Sex and the City, they felt like they felt outside of Manhattan, nothing mattered, but at least I'll say this, at least the city. Because then if you're upstate New York, you're like, oh, that doesn't count, right? It's a whole different thing. But yes, I got my license for New York and um, did like I practice as a massage therapist like that? No. During our off season, I did find like a spa in Harlem. It was the only black owned spa actually. And because Columbia, I worked at Columbia University and Columbia is like in Harlem. People don't really realize it's really outside of Harlem. And anyway, so during our off season, I did do a couple of months at the spa, and that was like a whole new world for me too. But it wasn't like I wasn't doing it every day. It was like one day or 2 days a week, couple of hours. But yeah, because our training was so elaborate and I didn't feel like I needed to take any national exam because at the time I didn't see myself leaving New York.
Gotcha. Um, I kind of just want to touch on this because 1,800 hours is quite a bit. And in this past year, and I imagine in 2025, a huge discussion is going to continue around classroom hours. Um, do you feel like that extensive length of a program really prepared you more for going into the practice of massage?
I think so because like I said, this was something new and not even understanding there was another element of the Eastern side. And I feel like, with all of that, you learn the basics and then you grow with it, right? And we have more time. I feel like a lot of these schools rush through the program, right? And so we had more time. I don't know where he was from. He wasn't from here though, but he was the most intense. He was like, he was the advanced massage part of the program, like, going through injuries, like what I love, injuries and ailments and different conditions that you have. And he was so intense. But I get why he's intense now, but he was intense because, and then that was just his personality and way, he was from a different country. But it was really good because how do you treat somebody with scoliosis? There's a treatment that a massage therapist can do. Can we diagnose? No, but can we assist with a specific treatment plan for someone with scoliosis? Absolutely. Can you help somebody who has a grade 2 hamstring strain? What are the therapies what's the modalities? What should the treatment plan? How often should they come? So those were the type of classes that we had to really have you think about what it is that you need to do, right? And that was great. Like for me, I had a lot of the science background, but we did spend an extensive time on really learning the anatomy and knowing, the attachment sites and why you do this. And to me, it's important because that's even how I teach in my classes now, right? You need to know these things. So I believe so because a lot of people in my class not only, stood in massage, but I have one friend that turned into a nurse. She became an ER nurse because she was really smart. So she got A's in everything. So she could have been a doctor if she wanted to, but she ended up becoming a nurse. And some other people went to be personal trainers. And it took it because of the extensive information that we were able to have, not only were they able to stay in the industry, but they was also able to add, right? So she was able to practice massage while she was in nursing school,
Gotcha.
right?
Yeah. Um, can you speak a little bit about the instructors that you had at their Swedish Institute? Any in particular that really stand out as you look back?
Well, that one I talked about, that one guy. I think his name is Fraser. I can't remember. It's been a while. I'm old. Um, Another instructor was the Swedish, no, the Shiatsu instructor. He was amazing. Um, he reminds me, I relate things to TV and sometimes he reminds me of, oh my God, you ever watch Will and Grace?
Oh yeah.
His real name is Sean. What did he play? Oh, I loved him.
Oh, Jack.
Jack. His structure, he reminded me of his personality, but just what his look and everything too. But when it came to his craft and that shiatsu, he was on point. So I was always volunteering to be a body because back then it's not as much now, but I had some digestive issues. I was always constipated and stuff like that. So when he would work the horror and show the right way to get, stomach going and large intestines, and it was amazing. So I learned a lot from him. So those two instructors really stood out for me.
Gotcha. Excellent. Did they have like a large roster of faculty teaching there at the Swedish Institute as opposed?
Yeah, because they also had people who was adjuncts who would come in just to teach on their specialty.
Gotcha. Excellent. Can you think of any specific texts, books that your instructors used to teach from at the time?
Of course, the trail guide. Um, I still have some, I think. Let me see. I'm looking at my little.
I make everybody look at their bookshelves.
Yeah, I'm like, what do I have over there? Trail guide. The massage therapy book that everybody has. I see it's like probably like the 20th edition, but it's like probably up to 30 now. I don't know. Um, what else do I remember? The pregnancy book
Okay.
by Carol. I'm trying to think. Yeah.
What about this, Davonna? Did because they have such an extensive history, was there like a real built-in kind of sense of culture at the Swedish Institute when you attended?
Oh yeah. There was. It was really welcoming. It was structured. It had a good structure and foundation. Even if we're at lunch, we can associate with other classes um, during break time and different things like that. Because sometimes there would be, even though I did the afternoon class because I worked during, in the morning. So I would do the afternoon, and sometimes you would have like the part-timers or the evening. We would sometimes overlap every blue moon, and then we'll just talk and see how their program is going and how their hours is going and so forth. So I thought the culture was great. We had assistance when it came to finding jobs and different things of that nature. That was pretty much told to us, and it was a great network of of people and collaboration, I would think.
All right. Can you speak a little bit about, because I know you're in Arizona now, how did the move from New York to Arizona come about?
So I got married, and I was tired of the cold, and so those two factors factored into it. I was still working in the PT. I was still working in that sports medicine. I actually got a job working in a PT clinic, but I wanted to transfer my massage license over. And I was able to get grandfathered in because of the amount of hours and the amount and the amount of years I was a massage therapist. So they accepted, my training right away. So I didn't have any issues. And so working in the PT clinic, I would add a lot of my massage elements because unfortunately, we get a lot of car accidents.
Hmm,
So,
really?
so I'm rehabbing a neck or a back, I would work on the neck. But in our specific location, we also had we shared space with a chiropractor who had an in-house massage therapist. So him and I used to, talk all the time. So I'm like, I only was able to do a little bit, right? Because that's the time frame. I'm here to rehab them and do standard rehab. And because insurance, you guys already know how insurance works. So insurance is not going to pay for too much manual therapy. So when they would see the chiropractor, I was like, all right, this is what needs to be focused on, blah, 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 blah. And him and I had a great understanding and could speak the same language. So he was really good at what he did. So
Right. Awesome. Um, about how long into your massage therapy career did that move to Arizona come about?
oof. We moved out here in '09, so I finished it on three, so six,
Okay.
so
All
6 years.
right. Because I also dug into Arizona's history, uh,
Mhm.
and it looks like they didn't get licensing until about the same time that you completed your entry level. So I'm glad to hear that it was pretty easy to get your license in Arizona. Do you still maintain a license in each state?
Not in New York, not anymore. Because I'm NCBTMB approved provider,
Mm,
I am licensed in the state of Arizona to work, but I can teach in pretty much a lot of different states, except those states that also want you to be licensed in their state. I have Florida and Texas has been giving me an issue. I had Texas, and then the whole renewal process has been a headache.
mm,
New York, I am, a lot of my classes are because New York is still, that's home to me. So I do go back, um, not frequently, but enough. And so I was actually, I've been a presenter for the I'm trying to, they have so many, all these places have all these acronyms. New York State Society of Medical Massage Therapists or something like that. It's like
really?
SSS. And so I've presented to them a couple of times via Zoom. We was trying to get me out there a couple of years ago, but it just didn't work out. I think it's like post-COVID or whatever. So yeah, so I try to keep certain licenses, but not to practice.
Gotcha. Did you find like a huge massage therapy culture shift as opposed from like New York to Arizona?
Because I honestly, Kirby, because I wasn't practicing as a massage therapist, I can't speak to that. Um, I would say what I noticed was the amount of education or the lack of.
Gotcha. All right. Um, can you recall any local or regional names, national big names even, from when you started your entry level program?
Practitioners,
Yeah, massage therapists.
local big names here in Arizona.
Sure, yeah.
Um, Heath and Nicole I knew of, they're local here.
Okay.
Um, when I started my practice. Actually, I don't know, it was a big name, but she's my mentor, Marsha Craven. She was the one that taught me her lymphatic drainage because I learned Vater in Swedish, but what I teach and what I practice is called Free the Flow, which I love and is amazing. So Marsha, as far as national, I remember Susan Salvo. I remember um yeah, I didn't remember that many. I know it was a lot of guys, but I didn't remember a lot of them because I wasn't in the industry like that. I was doing more sports medicine in New York during that time. So
Gotcha.
yeah, more of the names I started recognizing as I started, honestly, as I started teaching. Because
Gotcha.
even practicing, I would do some local I would do some local CEs. I wasn't really looking for some of the national providers that traveling and different things like that. So
Right. That's kind of a nice segue. Can you talk about how you becoming an educator in massage therapy kind of happened?
sure. So like talking about my mentor, Marsha, I started work. So let me go back a little bit because my life was like this.
Please. Yeah.
Like it wasn't just like a straight, okay, I'm gonna do this. Nope, it was this.
Life has
Um,
a way of doing that.
so
Life has a way of doing that, right?
pretty much. So let me think. So took a couple of classes at Marsha's place. I noticed that she didn't have any really medical classes. So what leads me to say that she had lymphatic, but she did a lot of like energy work. So she had cranial reflexology is not energy, but you get what I'm saying. So she had reflexology, cranial, um, and some other things. And so she would have some other providers come in sometime that taught more medical. So I was like, being sporty, in my background and more medical, I said, hey, would you be interested in me teaching a course? And so she was like, okay. So she wanted me to come up and demonstrate what I would do. So I went to her home and she had a friend of hers who was suffering from a shoulder injury.
Mm.
And I did what I do, Kirby. That's all I can tell you. I did what I And so she was like, oh my goodness. And so hence that's how I started teaching there. So I was teaching with her. I want to say from 2015 to about 2017, 2018, part-time, right? Like so probably a couple of times a year because Phoenix is big. Phoenix metropolitan area is big. So it would be like an hour for me to go from my house to there. And then from my office was from me to travel from my home to my office was like 20, 25 minutes the most. So that tells you the amount of driving, right? And so, but we had that relationship. So I taught a few times and I developed two courses there. I developed a sports massage course and a posture and balance course in which like I now teach and I kind of tweaked it a little bit now, but those are the courses that I was teaching there. So that's how I end up teaching for her, and that's how that got started. But before that, I taught for one semester, or was it a semester or 1 year? I think a full year. One full year at a massage school here. The school no longer offers massage, but at the time they had a massage program. And I realized I am not that type of instructor.
Uh,
I don't like to be bogged down by certain, it was a little bit crazy. The Title IX stuff and what you could teach and if the student really wasn't doing the work, then they will require me to stay longer to help that student in order to pass. And you do the work, you pass. You don't do the work, that's on you. Right.
gotcha.
So that's my mentality. I got told because she went to Columbia University, she's trying to teach us like we're in Columbia. No, I'm trying to teach you for the information that you need in order to be a successful massage therapist. When it comes to anatomy, I don't play. So
Right.
I need you to know your attachment sites. I need you to know your actions. I need you to know why you're doing this. We're not just here to rub on people. So I was very, that's how I operated. And so that's not how they wanted me to operate.
Uh-oh. Correct me if I'm wrong then. Am I getting the understanding that Marcia wasn't an entry-level educate school, basically?
Yeah.
She was a
No,
senior.
should continue education.
Gotcha. All right, cool. During the time that you were in New York and held your license for those 6 years, even though you weren't practicing at the time, did you ever have any interactions with CE providers there in New York or school owners besides the Swedish Institute or any of their massage therapy board members?
No, no, the reason why was because my CEs for athletic training crossed over for massage therapy, and they were a lot more entail. So I didn't really do massage CEs
Gotcha.
in New
Okay.
York. So everything was athletic training based.
All right. What about then in Arizona? Have you had any experience with the Arizona board?
Yes.
Okay.
But not a lot, yeah. A lot.
All right. Yeah,
Um,
because they've been
so
struggling this past year, or they've got a sunset coming up soon, don't they, in the summer of 25?
yes,
Okay.
yes. I was part of that whole I was a part of that. I came little did I ever know that I would be in front of the Congress. So yeah, so basically for all those who don't understand, they were trying to close our board. We've been having issues with our board is because of uh, lack of funding, lack of employees doing the work or employees not doing the work efficiently, let's put it that way.
Sure.
And so it's been a lot of complaints because people are graduating and then not getting their license for months at a time, which is crazy, right? And so the state is like, we're tired of hearing these complaints. We're going to close your board and throw you under cosmetology. And
Hmm.
so when I started understanding what was going on, because I'm on Facebook and a lot of the Facebook groups, the local Arizona Facebook groups was having posts and I know a lot of the instructors and the key players and I remember messaging like, what's really going on? And so they had emails about if you want to come in front of I think it was Senate or I can't think of it was Congress, our local. And I said, okay, I think I should because I teach medical. So cosmetology and medical that's not it. And then so yeah, so I was one of the people that went in front and state my claim and why it's important that the massage therapy board, we still have our own massage board because of just these certain points.
Gotcha.
And yeah.
So Arizona currently is still a standalone board for now. You haven't been moved
Yes.
under a department and lumped in with your Cosmo.
No, I
Okay.
was just saying, just give us more funding.
Right.
You have more funding, then you have more people to pay to help through these applications versus you have already like 16 people working underneath the cosmetology board. Of course, they're going to get through the applications quicker, but we have more different complex issues in massage than cosmetology.
Right. Yeah. And a little bit more room for bad actors, I think, in the massage therapy profession.
Right. And you have to also understand we're a border state.
Yeah.
So it's a lot more to it, right? And so the yeah,
It's complex. Davonna, have you ever served on your regulatory agency there in Arizona?
no.
Moving on. Uh, what about involvement with professional organizations like the AMTA local chapters or
I have when I have in the beginning with USOLMT when Stephanie was just starting out, I was on that board. And yeah, not a local AMTA chapter, no, no. Um my cup runneth over already. And so I didn't honestly, and even with that, I had to step down from that because I was just like, I really have a lot going on between just what I do and in my family life. I try to help out where I can, like that. Like it was time for me to step up. I don't need to be part of a board in order for me to step up and say my piece regarding the industry. So when it's time for me to step up and talk about what needed to be discussed in my industry, I'll do that, but not necessarily to have to be a part of the board to do it.
Gotcha. Yeah, I get what you mean. Life also has a way of filling us up with more than we can accomplish and dedicate to, right? So I get that definitely. Um, okay. Let's see. So you also own your own massage business. How long have you had Blue Sky, right?
Right, Blue Skies. Well, I should have corrected that, but I sold Blue Skies in 21.
Okay.
I sold my client lists. I didn't sell the bill because I had rented, so I can't sell a building. But I did sell it in 21. I had Blue Sky for 10 years
Wow.
before I sold it. I grew to practice. It started with me. I grew to practice to be like 5 therapists, including an athletic trainer. And because in 2017, like we were just doing massages, and then I was feeling like I was losing myself. So that athletic training side I felt was missing. And so in 2017, I restructured and we started doing stretch therapy before that was a thing, before Stretch Lab and all these other places was doing it. Because
Right.
I went home, sometimes when you go away and you get a refresh. And I was praying, I was like, man, I need to change my methods for the business, for me to love my business again. You go through ebbs and flows with business, if you know. And so we went back home, we went to New York, we were sitting in Central Park and we were watching the joggers run around the park. And I'm like, oh, that's terrible mechanics. That's terrible. Oh, that's good. So I'm like, oh my God, I should start doing running analysis. So it's like I was getting all these, and then like stretching came. And so I hired an athletic trainer like myself. So we started doing corrective therapy, corrective exercise, stretch therapy, and running analysis. And I was starting fitting for orthotic fitting because of my background, athletic training. I can do that along with massage. So we had an integrative approach. They would have to get both in order. So, we would sign a membership agreement and we would do, they had to do 3 months to say, all right, I dedicate 3 months to getting corrective therapy, massage therapy in order to change whether it's the body mechanics, whether it's the injury, because they try PT, they try personal training, they try acupuncture, or they try chiropractic and it didn't work. So I'm like, give us a try, but these are the requirements. And then, we were seeing really great results.
All right. Awesome. Yeah, it sounds pretty impressive to have a business going for 10 years. That's not easy to do.
Nope, and not to grow up with having people and personalities. And with that, I had a big contract with a cancer treatment center. So we were in 5 of their locations. So I had to manage my therapists going in and out of those locations, providing lymphatic massage for cancer patients. And yeah, so I did it, and then I was done.
You got to know when to be done.
I was done. But then it was like when I stopped working for Marsha in 2017, because I did hers 2015 and 17, I believe. I took a break from teaching, my clients, why no one else do this type of work? And why your therapists know this? And, those are the questions. And so I'm like, I need to start. That's when the teaching bug was hitting me again. Like, I need to start teaching. And so that's when I built up 419 and got certified, approved in end of 2019, October 2019. First class, March of 2020, the
Uh-oh.
world shut down.
Oh no. That's all.
Yep. Mhm.
Okay. So how did you pivot and navigate with that?
That only class I had to put it online. I had to figure out to put it online. And I did a stretch class. I did a stretch class online. So I had a friend of mine. We came together. They recorded, one was on the table. And so we built out my stretch class and we put that online.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Does,
you have to pivot. That's how business is.
right. Um, I was going to ask you, um, so 419 education and training, it's not an entry level program, it's continuing education.
Correct.
Any plans on moving into entry level at some point?
Nope. No, I'm happy at being CEs. I'm happy in that space. I
Okay.
enjoy traveling, going to different locations, partnering with massage schools. I love partnering with massage therapy schools. That's actually a goal of mine to continue those partnerships and grow that element because there's some schools who already have CE programs and I love to be added to what they do already or people who don't. There's schools that don't have a program, and I love to be added. So that, and also I'm adding more online courses because I can't be everywhere. And so like my sports is only 12, my stretch is only 12. So I don't travel for nothing less than my 24-hour courses. It just financially doesn't make any sense
Mm.
unless somebody wants me to teach both stretch and sports at the same time, and I could travel for that. But I'm putting a lymphatic course online, rolling out in the top of the year, and also my sports rolling that out at the top of the year. So it's a fragment, obviously, it's not the whole course, but it's important pieces where I know people really would love to see and learn more.
Awesome. That's incredible. Oh, good. Um,
Thank
yeah. Davonna, what do you think? Do you have any insights on what do you feel the importance of massage therapy history is?
I think you have to know where it comes from and how, the healing and where it comes from in regards to different countries, right? Because it didn't establish here in the States, it established in Africa and it established in, and also in Asian countries. But you have to know why it started and then how it progressed. So I think it is important.
Alrighty. Do you preserve any massage therapy history? I know we talked a little bit about some books on your shelf
Yes.
that you.
Um, I don't have a lot of books on the history of massage. I started doing some little research, and when I was doing some little research and speaking to one of my mentees, she was also educating me because she does a lot of research. I have to be honest, I've never been like a big history buff. That's a conversation we usually have in our home. Like my husband has always been big on history, and I'm learning more and more why history is important to take us to where we either where history repeats itself, which is real, or what we need to do to progress. So just learning about where established and some of the, like for me, when one of the research I was doing because of the Black conference is when I was doing my research where, certain where massage established for in the African culture and some of the things that they were doing then is translated differently in the Asian culture than translated differently here in our culture. And some of the things that we're learning, like, Delilah Beasley as the first Black massage therapist local, in our country, like after the Civil War, so those little tidbits, but I'm not like vastly knowledgeable about the history.
That's
And
all
that's why you guys exist.
right. Well, I love to get caught learning, especially in history. Um,
Mhm,
so I love your insights and keep with it because that's the thing about history. There's always new to learn from.
mhm.
It sounds like it's something that was over and that's it.
Right,
There's always new perspectives. There's always more context when it comes to history. So, and always more voices that were either left
right,
out or
right.
are just now finding themselves. So, yeah, excellent.
That's true. We need a movie. We need a movie. Just like I posted on my Facebook page about, the new Netflix movie about the six triple eight.
Oh, yeah,
I mean, had no idea.
right.
No, and then for my husband to be a history buff, he was like, he had no idea. And so yeah, so even just regular history in American history, we're still learning.
Absolutely.
It's the truth.
Yeah. Davonna, have you noticed any significant trends or movements in the massage therapy profession over the last couple of decades?
I have one of the biggest trends I've noticed was like a lot of therapists, and I don't know if this is being really vastly taught in the schools, but people think like right out of school they could be a business owner. And I'm like, whoa, that wasn't something pushed for us, like in out of Swedish. That wasn't like I told you, other people went different directions of growth and education, not thinking that they can own a whole business. So that's something that's a huge trend I've noticed in
Hmm.
the industry. Um, Anything else? Lymphatic has grown, but lymphatic for the wrong reasons, right? So we have because of what's going on in the world, the BBLs, the lipo 360s and mommy makeovers and all of that, but people think that lymphatic is supposed to be quick, fast, and hard to push the fluid out.
Hmm.
And I preach about that all the time in my classes. Like our lymphatic system is an internal system and it works and flushes way out. We don't need your external hands pushing the fluid out on the table, out on the floor in order for them to get the healing. Actually, it's more trauma, right? And so the body has to so yeah, or going hard, they're thinking lymphatic is supposed to help out breaking up scar tissue and fibrosis. That's not lymphatic, that's breaking up scar tissue and fibrosis. There's a limited amount of time to do the lymphatic, and then when the body's starting to heal itself and the trauma starts setting in, that's when the scar tissue starts to develop, right? But in the beginning, lymphatic needs to be 5 grams of weight, not this hard. Not using a wood tool, that's not lymphatic. Those
Yeah,
are the trends.
I'm wondering if that's the really want to get in there and work really hard. I wonder if more schools are teaching that because a lot of places that you'll go into, you'll get a lot of, or it's the demand the clients have for us is they think that the only effective work has to be this really deep work,
Yeah.
right?
Well, as instructors, it's our duty to educate that's not it, and they can't go off of YouTube University and Instagram University and say this is what it is.
Right.
Like, no, like this is what education is about. That's why I'm big on education and knowing every class I have, I back up, I go through the anatomy first, and then we go to what we need to teach because I need to know that you understand where we're going to go with this in the next couple of hours for the full, for the next couple of days. But if you are coming in with the wrong misconception, and I've had therapists, I had one therapist was like, no, I used wood and not go hard. And I'm like, that is not lymphatic. You are doing body contouring. That's what you're doing. That's not lymphatic massage.
Yeah.
You're breaking up scar tissue using wood tools, but you're doing it too quick. And so it's causing more trauma. So yeah, so
Yeah, it's definitely something you want people to know what they're doing before they just go out and practice it, especially with the general public, right?
It's like, well, my people get results, and I'm like, yeah, but it's not sufficient. You're hurting in the process. The body has to work harder to heal itself in the process. So yeah, so those are the two things. Thinking that you could go out immediately work for yourself and then making all this $100,000. I charge $100 per session. I can make 10,000 a month and da 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 da, and not thinking about expenses or taxes.
Right. All of that's important. Uh,
Yes, sir.
Davonna, let's shift gears again.
Hmm.
So we're recording in December, but this episode is planned to be released in February to recognize Black History Month. We also want to, here at the Society, we want to celebrate and lift up the story of Black massage therapists. So, can I engage you in a deeper conversation on race?
Sure.
Okay. Um, so when you began your massage therapy studies, were there many other therapists of color at the time?
As Swedish, yes, because being in New York City, it's a melting pot. So there was other therapists. Was it a lot? No. It was probably like a handful of us in my particular class. But overall in the school, I saw more faces that looked like me.
Um, is there any specific story or anecdote from your experience as a massage therapist that really stands out to you, whether that's in terms of like the impact of change from your start to where we are now?
A specific anecdote. I think for me, as a Black massage therapist in the industry as well, when I would have my business in a predominantly white Mormon city
Hmm.
or town, and I didn't put my face on my face. I didn't put my face on my website for a long time.
Wow.
And so people were hear about me is based off of the work and not necessarily my skin color, because when people did come in, they were shocked at what I looked like.
Right.
And it was very telling that they were shocked because
Hmm.
people can't hide you can't hide your first impression, right? You
Right.
can't. And then once they would get the service, they're like, okay. And then, but yeah, initially those stories, and it happened all the time. So as I was growing my business, yeah, I could transfer people over to my other therapists, but initially it was just me. So those were that was something to overcome. And
Gotcha.
my web developer, he's like, I don't understand. And I'm like, I don't know how to explain this to you. Like, now I'm open and I'm more willing to talk about it. But then I was like, it's just I can't explain it right now. But just trust me. Let's just go with the reviews on Yelp and Google.
Gotcha. Um, do you think, not speaking for all Black massage therapists, but do you think that's probably a pretty common story?
Yeah, maybe not as much, but yes, depending on, I have the Black Facebook group and, people still have that same, oh, I don't want that, I don't want her, I want him, or I don't want that Black therapist, I want this white therapist. People say it. It
Yeah.
happens in 2024.
Right. I'm wondering, have you noticed, has that become less and less frequent, like that shock or that, let's just call it outright rejection based on racism?
It just depends on the city and state.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So this country, it might be different in Utah than it is in Georgia,
Right. Yeah.
right?
Can be a world of difference.
Or Iowa. So versus being in Mississippi. So yes, it might be the same. It just depends on location.
Gotcha. And I'm wondering, um, what are some ways that you've seen institutional and systemic racism play its part um, in the massage therapy profession?
Well, the lack of understanding what we go through. Our bodies are different. Our bodies, that's number one. And when it comes to, is it schooling you're asking or just overall body work?
Schooling is a great place to start if you have thoughts
Okay.
on that.
Okay, so based off of some of the things that I know to be true and also seeing feedback from my groups that I'm in and hearing in the conferences, the lack of feeling like included or the lack of understanding of what we what we have to go through sometimes, right? When we just talked about the look as somebody's looking, or if a specific teacher already have a issue with the race, is going to be an issue when it comes to education. If that specific student is having difficulties in that class and they don't have an ally or someone who they can speak to help them overcome it because that teacher is already kind of shutting them down or they just feel like, oh, it'll be fine, you'll be fine. Just make sure you just do this and this and this, and not really understanding the point of what they need. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so. Absolutely. It I think it's a shame that a lot of massage therapy educators, especially in the entry level, don't um, have this awareness or this understanding of how implicit bias uh, plays a role in how you actually do treat people. It's kind of like
Right.
completely oblivious to how those
Right.
fit together, right?
Right. And so with that implicit bias, like for instance, I'm actually going to be speaking at the AMTA school forum about, school retention. And part of that, I'm going to add that in my presentation because that's important. That's important. I I literally, in one of the roundtable discussion at another school forum with ABNP, there was a school owner who said, "Oh yeah, I communicate with my Black students. I love when they bring in some fried chicken and macaroni and cheese."
Mm-mm.
The whole table got quiet, and God told me it took everything in me, Kirby, not to let the New York Davonna come out because I was so appalled in her in what she said. And somebody else like kind of broke the silence, was like, I don't think that's you understanding your students. And then once that person broke, and it was a white person, once that person broke the ice, then I calmed down enough so I was able to say, that is not you understanding your students. That is pretty much, you're pretty typecasting a whole group of individuals, and that's not massage, and that's not understanding your students and what their needs are.
Right. You
And
can't,
then she got all quiet and started stuttering a little bit. And so, but it was just like, but that for her, she was like, I love it. That was her embracing the culture.
right.
That's not you embracing the culture. That's not it. Embracing the culture is understanding some of the issues we have, like socioeconomic issues, why, it's hard sometimes for a person to continue schooling if they pay in cash when they know they're a single mom and have to pay rent and this and that, and they don't have the help. So now they have to juggle. Do I pay for the rest of my school for me to get out of working whatever I'm working now so I can have a better career, or do I pay for my rent for this month so I can live and my kids have a roof over their heads? That is really understanding what's going on in the culture. And that's not always the case, but it's more vast than the type of food we eat.
Right.
And not all of us eat it.
Exactly. Everyone's an individual.
Right. And so implicit bias is a real big one. So that's in the school. As for employers, the same thing. If you have clients coming to you, their lead therapist or the front desk and saying, I want this person and not that person because um, they're Black, that's some education that you need to be given to your clients. And that's where newsletters and say, we have all therapists here that we appreciate and support. And so that goes with that. So that's education and not making the therapist feel bad because of the color of their skin. I mean, who they are.
Yeah. I think I think a lot of the time we get caught up in fighting racism has to be like this huge big thing that solves every problem everywhere when it doesn't have to be all that complicated. Like you just said, a simple action you could take as an owner and an employer is just to send out a newsletter to your clientele or just to help raise awareness like that. It doesn't have to be this huge undertaking, right?
Right. Absolutely. Supporting, like during Black History Month, why not have different Black therapists, that help promote the industry, not necessarily like just Delilah, but what about your therapist that's in your facility? Let's support them. We're celebrating these therapists. Hopefully you have a couple of Black therapists, but if you don't, you may want to reconsider that and look into, your hiring practices or celebrating Benny Vaughn, who's been in the industry for over 45 years,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
He's been the face for us. Let's celebrate him and all his accomplishments and going to the Olympics and have an amazing facility in Texas. And right? Let's support those. Or I'll go even further. You mentioned it earlier, in the intro. How about support the Black Massage Therapist Conference? Send one of your therapists there. That's how you bring awareness. That's how you support that. Send one of your students there. Have a scholarship for them. Maybe not sending all of them, but hey, if you get these type of grades in this period, yeah, you'll, put a raffle in. You'll be sent off to the Black Massage Therapist Conference. Those are the ways that you can show support, show that, you see them, show that they're valued.
Awesome. I want to go back to something you mentioned a little bit earlier too, your private Facebook group of the Black massage therapists. I know you've kind of shared some insights from stories that you've heard in that group. I want to hear, what do you think is the importance of a community like that?
Mhm. Its support is, I hear you. Here's what I did in this situation, is sharing, different tips, or pretty much giving a hug to them from a distance. Yes, sis, I've been there, brother, I've been there. I get it. This is what I did. Here's what you can do. All of your boss is doing this. Make sure you have a contract that says this. Is giving that support system that they don't have where they are, because typically we are typically one of one. As many a times I look around and I'm like, yep, I'm the only one, right? And sometimes you just get used to it because it is what it is, right? We're about 8%, 9% in the industry. So you kind of get used to it. Certain cities and states, they don't feel that way because there's more Black people in general in that city. But there's not that across the country. It's not that across the country. When I first moved here in Arizona, like I said, I was known as the Black massage therapist in Gilbert, Arizona. A whole town, I'm the only one, right? There's more now as I go to Gilbert. I'm like, oh, I see more Black folks. It's great. But when we first moved to Arizona, it was about 2% of Blacks in Arizona, the whole state, in Phoenix. Let me just say Phoenix, but
Yeah.
I believe the whole state. 1 to 2%. Now we're about 8, 9%, but that's over 15 years or so, right? So it's important to have the love, the support, the language. It's just a different language. For the culture. We could be in so many different states, but there's just a general undertone of language. It could be, a look. It's just when we at the conference, one of the things that myself and my event coordinator, Trina, we laughed at the very end of the conference, the last day, we just did the closing ceremony. We had all the people who were still there at the closing ceremony come on the stage, surround me. And so she's all acrobatic, and it's a husband-wife team, and he was about to take the picture, and he gave her a nice head nod, like it's okay for you to do that. So she did a split in front of everybody, and without even thinking, everybody cheered like, yay! Like it was just it was in sync. Nobody practiced it. It's just certain things of that nature. And we laugh about stuff like that because it just happened that way. Because it's just, those are just things that we noticed. And yeah, so it is important. It is important. And the growth is good for students. The support is there because, like I said, a lot of these students, they are in this industry or in these schools, and they're just one, there's not another, not even a faculty
Right.
that they can go to or feel supported by. And so that's important. So they'll ask questions regarding school related questions that they don't feel comfortable speaking to another instructor or advisor about.
Speak to me, not that you should have to come up and create all of these solutions for society, Davonna, but what do you think the massage therapy industry, the profession as a whole, can do to support more diversity as we move forward?
Educate themselves. Read a book. We've been
Really?
saying these same things for years. It's out here. If you want to know, you'll pick up a book and read it. It's one book. Let me look this book up. I was like, she's amazing. She's a doctor. It's called by Dr. Joy DeGruy, Degruy. It's called Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome.
Mm.
America's Legacy of Enduring Injury and Healing. And I watched one of her speeches on YouTube, and I was learning things, and I was like, whoa. And so it has 4.9 stars, 3,889 people purchased. I would say let's start there because it's more than just the industry. This is just systematic. And so if you can, I think because what happens is people are like, well, I wasn't involved and it was over, but you have to understand the ripple effect. It's like dominoes. You hit one domino and the ripple effect. So when you can understand that and accept that, then you'll be more open to hear some of the issues.
Right.
But she goes through the dominoes and why that's important.
Gotcha. Yeah, it sounds like a good book. Good place
Mhm.
to start. Um, Talk to me a little bit more about the Black Massage Therapy Conference, Davonna. How did that come about? Um, and why is it important?
So it came about, well, go back to start when I started the Facebook group. I started the Facebook group in June of 2020 during the civil unrest from George Floyd. And me feeling like I'm out here by myself. And I'm like, I can't be the only one feeling this way. And it kind of goes back to that post-traumatic slave. You're like, majority of my clientele is white. Everybody's very understanding. They were like, whatever you need, Davonna, to support, because I do have a son. And for him to see that, he was very young. And they're taught to the police are their friends and whatever. And when you see a policeman on national TV hurting someone in that way and hearing this man cry for his mama, I mean, it's traumatic for a 7-year-old at the time. Okay. So um, I was like, I'm looking on Facebook looking for groups and I didn't find anything. And I'm like, oh my goodness, went to my family. I'm like, do you think I need to start a Facebook group? I'm like, I don't even know that many other Black massage therapists in Arizona, let alone wherever else. And so I was like, okay. They're like, yeah, but I didn't know what it would turn into. And so that was June of 2020. So now we're in December. We have over 1,200 massage therapists in that group, nationwide, even international, Caribbean, Canada, Africa. We have a few people from Africa that finds us.
Oh,
And so being in the group and having these discussions, and people are like, we need to get together. We need to get together. And I'm like, yeah, you guys get together. I did my thing.
you thought.
You go right ahead. And so other people tried it. do something and never fell through. And God was like, no, this is your calling. You need to be doing this. And so when I accept the call, I actually who did MT Banquets the year before in 21 or 2 years. And I said, hey, you've done a banquet. I don't even know where to start. Will you be willing to help me and be like a co-organizer for me with me? And then that's how it started. And so we had our inaugural um, conference in 23 in October. We had about 60 therapists, but about 80 people collectively when it comes to vendors and such, exhibitors. And yeah, and so it was really successful. It was nerve-wracking for me, of course, because I'm like, oh my goodness, when I first got on the stage, I was about to speak, and all of a sudden, like just everything, just the work itself, everything, I just cried and I bawled my eyes out because to see it all come to fruition, right? It was one day. It was a big, long one day, but it was impactful and people loved it, enjoyed themselves. Educational because we had continued education. Obviously, education is always going to be at the realm, the first thing for me as an educator. And we had our networking dinner and dancing. It was just great. And then this year, we had our second. So we doubled. We doubled the amount of people
Wow.
and we doubled the days. So it was bigger and better. And we had more instructors. And it was amazing. And to see people shocked because unfortunately, and this is just in our culture, unfortunately, we're always reluctant in supporting our own because of what past hurts we have. So we have our own issues in our own culture. And so for people to say, oh my goodness, to see the location was at a Hilton. Kirby, I don't do junk, Kirby. So see, when you see the ballroom and the chandeliers, and it was just people were just like, oh, this is not what I expected. And to be above people's expectations, the decor, um, it was just amazing that the vendors, the exhibitors that we had were great and people purchased because that was my biggest thing. If you're supporting my conference, whether it's a sponsorship or a exhibitor booth, my prayer was for them to make their ROI plus plus. And after, weeks later, once people got settled, I contacted some of the exhibitors to see how they did. People did. They did well. So that made my heart happy. And yeah, and so the goal is to network, to show the support, to show the camaraderie, to get educated, and to also have Black educators. You hardly see Black massage therapist educators, but we're out here. And I also wanted to shed a light on that, like to see the same old people being asked to write the same old articles. And I'm like, it's important. We're here and to also shed a light. There's Black educators out here that's been doing it. To also have the to, to the legacy, we've paid homage to Benny. He was our keynote. I did give him a Lifetime Achievement Award, if you will, at the dinner networking to show like we love you, we acknowledge you, thank you. And for like the younger generation, not even know who he is, and then open up their eyes, and then for him to feel love and support, and them going to him and asking him questions, and it was just great. And that's why it's needed because you don't know who paved the way for you to be where you're at.
Awesome. I think it's so incredible, so inspiring. I'm so grateful that you're doing this, Davonna, and I wish you and the BMTC many years of success in the future.
Thank you. And then thank you for your support and your donation and having people like you individually donating, because I'm not an association. I'm not like, it's me and my team, and we're doing it, but it takes it's a lot. It's a lot. Conferences are not easy. It's not easy to do. And so as we're growing, we're learning, right? We're evolving. So we're going into our third year. So now it's things that I know I want this year that I didn't have last year, or vice versa. So every year we're growing and we're improving. Even with the instructors, it was really important talking about socioeconomic. It was very important for me to have an accountant there and a financial advisor.
Mm.
'Cause we need to learn about our money and legacy and how to use it. And if you want to be in business, learning your taxes and what you need to do, right? And so that was really important, having that financial literacy portion in the conference. And my plan is to always have some sort of financial literacy there because it's important.
Oh
It's
yeah.
very,
Yeah. It's fundamental.
very much so.
This kind of goes hand in hand. What legacy do you hope or do you see yourself leaving in massage therapy's history?
Hmm. Well, I had the first Black Massage Therapist Conference, so that is a legacy right there. One of the, I'm getting to be known as a instructor, massage therapy CE instructor in the industry. So that's there, and I don't know who's to say what becomes of as I'm evolving in this industry. I just want people to know that I did this, but this was not part of my business plan. This is bigger than me. And I'm just here to be that vessel that the Lord used me to serve and to bring awareness and to bring love.
Absolutely. Um, is there anything else we haven't covered that we should be sure to include here in the last few minutes before we wrap up?
Let's see. I am a CE instructor, so please go to my website, the number 4, and spell out 19education.com. I have business courses, live, and no live yet, but not this year yet. I'm thinking about doing another live one, but live, and I have some courses online. I have a posture and balance courses, sports, medical, lymphatic, all the things I love to teach. I enjoy what I do. I love to give the knowledge from the sports medicine that so you get that. A lot of instructors don't have that. What I provide from that's a whole different insight and education on that. And also the conference. We're starting to roll out the conference. So be looking for pre-sale and early bird specials, and always looking for donors for the conference. We definitely shout you out during the conference and in our brochure and on our PowerPoint slide. And we really appreciate those who support and understand the importance of what we're trying to accomplish here in the industry.
It's vital. And again, thank you for doing it, Davonna.
Thank you, Kirby. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
Of course. Just a last couple questions.
Okay.
If you could record and preserve any deceased person's account of massage history, who do you think you would choose?
Oh, deceased person. I I would speak to Delilah. I would see, did she even know that because she was a nurse as well. So did she even know that this was gonna take off the way it has in the industry? And did she realize that she would be known as the mother of massage for Black individuals in the States?
All right, that's a good answer. Um, Kind of along those same lines, who would you encourage or challenge to participate in this podcast's future episodes?
Mm. Who would I encourage? Who, who, who's been? I have a few. Can I name a few?
Absolutely, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Please.
Okay, I'll name a few. So, Heal Well, Cal and Carrie, if they haven't yet.
Okay.
Uh, I would Terrence Bonner. He's both an esthetician and massage therapist and a Black male, so having that perspective.
Beautiful.
Let's see, who else would I think about? I'm just thinking about Erica Clinton. She was the director at Swedish. She was, I think she started as a counselor when I was in school. Then she went to the director. So now she just stepped down, but that's a big role to speak to her about that. She's with Heal as well now, but she's also with the Society of Oncology, I believe,
All right. Yeah.
oncology massage.
Hmm.
So Erica Clinton. Who else? Oh, Adrian from the Massage Therapy Foundation.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Adrian Asta.
Yes.
All right.
I think that's it.
That's a good list.
Okay. Tell him I sent you that.
Perfect. Um, Before we get out of here, tell people again where they can reach you, Davonna, if they want more information about you, and then plug that Black Massage Therapy Conference, the dates for
Okay.
25.
Sure. So you can reach me at 419education.com. So www dot the number four, spell out 19education.com. Also, I'm on all socials, Davonna Willis for LinkedIn, and then 419 and the BMT. So, Black Massage Therapist Conference. It is October 7th and 8th. That's a Tuesday, Wednesday. The reason why we picked those 2 days is because that's the least busiest days of a massage week. We tried that Saturday the first time. People said, that's their money-making day. We
Hmm.
hear you. We listen to our surveys. So Tuesday and Wednesday, October 7th and 8th. So right now we still need sponsors. So there's different sponsorships, podcast sponsors. So if you have an item that you would like for us to show and sell on our podcast, we have our own podcast. Pretty much we roll it out probably like 12 weeks prior to the conference. And every week we roll it out. Basically, it's introducing you to all the instructors for the conference. We're also looking for exhibitors, whether it's online, virtual, or in person. Of course, attendees. So we need the attendees. So please show up and show out. We're trying to reach our goal number of 150.
All
We
right.
can do it. We did
Yeah,
120. We could do 150 for this year. So show up, show out. It's going to be a great time. You will never, never regret what you're doing for professional development, for spiritual development, and just overall a great time of networking. What else we need? Donors. We're always looking for support from donors. You can be an ally, support, show your love and support. You will definitely get the shout out. We definitely shout out our donors. We appreciate it. It takes a village. It takes a village. I am a small business. It takes a village. All right. And I think that's it.
perfect. Thank you, Davonna. I want to thank you for your time and for participating in this podcast with us.
Thank you, Kirby. Thank you, Society of Massage. I appreciate you guys for reaching out to me. I can't wait to see what all you guys will have. And then, yeah, I'll be using some of your resources too for some of my classes. You never know.
Awesome. Let's make it happen.
Absolutely.
You have been listening to the Hands of History podcast, a production of the Society of Massage Archives. You can learn more about the Society at societyofmassagearchives.org. We are also on Facebook and Instagram. Do you know someone whose hands have helped shape the practice of massage? If you or someone you know would make a great guest for future episodes of this podcast, please email the Society at societyofmassagearchives@gmail.com. Society of Massage Archives, all one word, @gmail.com.